The story begins with our female protagonist, Mira, lying beside a man. While everyone was fast asleep, the only sound in the peaceful darkness was his faint breathing. Askin La Ludovica was the emperor's nephew and a war hero, the continent's only sword master. He was also the leader of the Black Dragon Knights, the group she belonged to. There is quite a story behind why such a great man is lying here next to our female protagonist in the middle of the night, using his subordinate as a pillow of all things. Besides having a weird taste, Mira was irritated that he was so heavy. After cleaning her annoying superior's office all day, she is finally freed from the hellish training. And now she planned to desert the Black Dragon Knights once and for all. With a little pat, Mira releases herself from his grasp, but in the process, her wig comes off. Since Askin does not loosen his grip on her wig, she decides to leave like this. Mira bids farewell to his grace, hoping they will not see each other again. However, unaware, the Grand Duke had been awake all this time. He quietly watches her leave from his balcony quietly, and scoffs. He says they will have to wait and see if they will meet again. The Brabant house was ancient and noble. The Count and Countess raised their 2 daughters like precious gems. The eldest was filled with grace and wisdom, carrying all the expectations of being the heir. The second, Mira, was free-spirited and a master of swordsmanship. Although Mira and her sister lost their mother early on, their loving father filled both roles and raised them without a lack of anything. So, Mira had no doubts that their future would be filled with happiness. But the year Mira turned 13, everything changed when her father suddenly died. What shocked Mira even more than being left alone with her sister was the fact that this is the world inside a novel. To make things worse, the story does not even have a happy ending. Rather, the story's female protagonist, Mira's beloved sister, also dies. The romance novel The Rose of Brabant was a novel our protagonist enjoyed reading in her previous life. It is a short story that covers the brief life of Mira's sister, Grace. In the story, the male protagonist, a common knight named Ethan, and the female protagonist, who was also his novel Grace, dreamed of overcoming their difference in status and being together. However, after the Count's death, the story took a tragic turn. Grace, the eldest daughter of the family, chose a political marriage with an old nobleman instead of being with her lover Ethan, in order to protect the family. Ethan, as a commander knight, would only stand by and watch her make that choice. Afterward, he quietly volunteered for a distant subjugation mission. And so time passed once more, and what the lonely Grace received was the tragic news of her former lover Ethan's death. Overcome with grief, Grace followed Ethan to the afterlife. And that is how the story ended. A bad ending with no hopes and no dreams. Grace promises to protect her sister no matter what. Though Mira knew this was the world of a novel, the warmth of her sister's embrace felt so real at that moment. Mira ponders over how everything started going astray after their father passed away. She realizes that her sister has not even gotten married yet, and Ethan has not left for the subjugation either. There is still a chance to change the future. She will make sure Grace does not end up in a political marriage so she can have the love she was denied in the original story. Mira is determined to change the plot and give her sister a happy ending. However, 4 years have passed since Mira decided to change the future but still has not been able to do anything. She tried a lot of different things, but they all failed. She had tried to tell Grace about the future, only for her to really like some simulator. She had also wanted to provide Grace with financial help, but the mines mentioned in the original story were already owned by someone else. Mira tried countless other attempts, but they all failed for several reasons. This frustrated Mira and she wonders how to change the future. In the end, the family's wealth has declined, and at some point, Ethan has stopped visiting. Her thoughts get disrupted as Johann Albrecht calls her. Johann is from the renowned swordsmanship family, the Albrecht Marquisate, and Mira's childhood friend. Johann's father is Mira's godfather and swordsmanship teacher. Mira often practices swordsmanship at Johann's house in their training yard. Upon asking why he is here, Johann says he came to check up on her, and this is his house. He discloses how he heard Lady Grace and Duke Herman have been discussing marriage. This makes Mira immediately panic as she realizes that event is going to come soon. No matter how hard she tried over the last 4 years, she could not change the original story. If it's come to this, Mira thinks she has no other choice and will have to send that old dude straight to the afterlife. Johann tries to stop her, asking if she really thinks his father taught them swordsmanship for something like that. Mira asks if he is just going to stand by and watch her sister marry that man. Johann tells Mira to calm down, assuring her that his parents are doing everything they can to stop this marriage too. Mira had heard the old duke was 8 years old. She is aware Duke Herman is a man who could force a marriage on her family, the Brabant Count's household. It is because not only does he play a significant role in the political world, but he is also the emperor's father-in-law. Mira does not care who her sister marries if she is happy, but it cannot be the old Duke, anyone but him. And since Grace has not talked to Mira about it yet, it seems like she has already made up her mind. Johan suggests that he talk to Grace, but Mira says her sister never changes her mind once it has made up. But she decides to get Ethan to convince Grace to change her mind. He is the only person who might be able to stop her sister. Like Mira realizes, to meet Ethan, she will have to go to the Blood Dragon Knights at the Grand Duke's. A few years ago, Ethan joined the Black Dragon Knights under the Grand Duke Ashkan to earn a title. Now that Mira thinks about it, the Grand Duke was Johan's father's student. If she uses that connection, she might get access to the Grand Duke's estate. She questions Johan if he has any business with the Black Dragon Knights. He replies that he is supposed to meet the Grand Duke next week. Mira requests that he take her with him. She knows they cannot afford to waste any more time, and this is the only plan left. This was the final operation she would carry out, persuading Ethan to personally convince her sister this time. She is determined to finally change her sister's future. At that moment, Mira was so wrapped up in the hope of saving her sister that she forgot one important thing. She was headed to the Black Dragon Knights, where the crazy Grand Duke was the strongest man in the world. Mira excitedly begins to explain her plan to Johan. First, she will go with Johan to the Grand Duke's residence as his knight escort. Then, while he is talking with the Grand Duke, she will sneak away and find Ethan in the knight's quarters to ask him to persuade her sister. That way, her sister changes her mind and marries Ethan. But she panics as her master claps and appreciates her plan. Pissed, he scolds her, after which Mira dejectedly returned home. She curses Johan for being a sneaky traitor for calling the master instead of helping her with the plan. Mira's master has told her to stop doing reckless things and behave herself. Johan had waved her goodbye by telling her to wait, as he would meet Ethan the next week. But Mira knew Johan was not trustworthy and did not want to leave the matter to him. Mira's attention diverts as she sees a carriage at her house that she has never seen before. Usually, visitors come when the sun is up, making her wonder who would come at such a late hour. She eavesdropped, hearing a man's voice asking what a good time it would be to announce the engagement. Recognizing the voice, Mira realizes it is Duke Herman. Grace says that she will follow his Grace's wishes, but upon insistence, she says it would be good to announce it after the fall harvest. The Duke smiles, asking if it is because of Miss Mira's coming-of-age ceremony. Grace agrees. The Duke assures Grace that he promised to take care of Miss Mira as if she were his own. He is not the kind of man who would be selfish enough to ruin such a day for the young lady. He tells her not to worry and go ahead with the engagement preparations. After he leaves, Grace tells the servants to keep the engagement a secret from Mira, and that she will tell herself when the time is right. Hearing all this, Mira feels sad. She feels that her sister is being silly. Even at a moment like this, Grace is worrying about her. If Grace is happy, she knows she will be okay with anything. She tries to lift her spirits up, glad they have not been engaged yet. The timing to execute her plan has just been moved up a little bit. And so, Mira begins to focus on the main goal of meeting Ethan first. But her plan soon spoiled, as with the Marquis's orders, Mira wasn't allowed to go to the Grand Duke's residence. People even made wanted posters of her. However, Mira internally tells her master that she will not give up. She is aware the Grand Duke's residence is a week's journey by carriage from here. She decides to just walk there without a carriage. She escaped, taking advantage of the moment the Marquis's knights were away, and headed straight for the Grand Duke's residence, avoiding the knights chasing her. And how did she manage to pull that off when there were wanted posters everywhere? It is because her disguise is perfect. She used the magical wig to hide her long hair and a fake mustache in disguise. The Black Dragon Knights are known for their lengthy visitor screening process. So, Mira was planning to use Johan's connections, but she did not have any other choice. She just must apply for a visit in hopes the screening goes by quickly. She did not expect there to be so many people in front of the Grand Duke's residence. Looking at the guards, it seems true. They really are restricting access for outsiders. She wonders what the line is for then. They do not look like people with invitations and wonder if they are all here for a visit or something. She soon hears a knight telling everyone to line up, and only those who pass the inspection will be allowed inside the Grand Duke's residence. This makes Mira realize that if she passes this inspection, she can get into the Grand Duke's residence. Since this is her last resort, she might as well line up. Unaware to Mira, the line was for the Black Dragon Knight's enlistment screening queue. She got a waiting number of 87. Mira observes how a man got disqualified and dragged away. She overhears another man talk about how 40 people have been disqualified by law. He finds it ridiculous that they are disqualifying people just by looking at their palms. Mira knew they were being quite strict for an entry screening, They were even inspecting palms. As the men talk about how the last one got disqualified, probably because his mustache was a problem, Mira immediately took off her mustache. The man behind her was shocked to see her ripped off her mustache. Soon the men could see the inspector in front. Mira also looks at the black-haired man. His eyes were as red and vivid as blood. He is undoubtedly handsome, but there is something off about the aura he gives off. Plus, Mira finds his gaze terrifying. Finally, it was Mira's turn. Mira decides to go with the strategy of emphasizing her harmlessness, so they do not find an excuse to pick on her. She is just an ordinary person here to visit Ethan. She has planned to use Braben's ultimate secret technique, and that is to be like an angel and use her signature smile attack. However, the technique fails to support her. As she smiled at the man, he disqualified her without wasting another moment. She asks if he is disqualifying her before inspecting. She wondered why he wasn't going to inspect. The man remarks that his smile is off-putting. This frustrates Mira, and she asks what kind of reasoning is telling him to conduct the test fairly. The man orders his subordinate Romeo to get rid of that one and bring up the next. But Mira begins to throw a fit, saying she will not leave until he checks her palm. He was taken aback by this man's behavior. Usually, by this point, people would back off on their own the fact that he is causing such a commotion to get into the Grand Duke's residence. The man finds it suspicious. Before he can draw his sword, Romeo tells him to stop. Romeo reminds the man that today is the day guests from friendly families are arriving. Romeo suggests giving the annoying man what he wants. If they disqualify him after an inspection, he will accept it. The man finds this suitable and asks Mira to show her palms. The pink-haired man seemed like a fool to him. However, he becomes stunned to realize the man's hands were someone trained in swordsmanship. Looking at the shape and hardness of the calluses, he realizes the pink-haired man is not an ordinary person. And to Mira's shock, the man passes her. For a long time, the Duke has been subjected to constant assassination attempts due to his claim to the imperial throne. The method that has been used the most is seduction. In the process of dealing with them, the Duke had all the household staff and knights in the mansion replaced with men. He spread rumors that he was homosexual. As Mira has her original name written in the registry, the man turns confused but lets the matter go. Mira was worried because even if she got into the Grand Duke's residence, she would not have a way to approach Ethan. She was lucky that the line in front of the Grand Duke's residence was for entering his office, where the knights stayed. But she does not get why the entry process is so strict. She asks the man if she can join the Night Order now, but he says that she has not even completed the second test yet. He throws her out, telling her to wait until her number is called. Despises Mirror of One as she wonders how many tests there are just to get an audience. While waiting, she meets another man, Varen. From him, Mira gets to know that the second test will have around 20 participants in each group, which said it is a fight to survive, so they must prepare accordingly. Mira is shocked to learn that they are making visitors fight to the death just to get an audience. No matter how strict the security is, she finds it a bit too much. Varen says that it is a test befitting the reputation of the Black Dragon Knight Order. Getting into one of the 3 major Knight Orders of the Empire will not be easy. Mira is aware that the owner of the Black Dragon Knight, Duke Askin, is the nephew of the current emperor. He has defended against invasions from neighboring countries and is a favored servant who was directly granted the title and estate by the emperor. Because of this, Askin holds considerable influence not only in the military but also in border security. It is only natural that there would be numerous formalities for this kind of security, like we expected. Therefore, Mira decides not to complain, as she is doing this for her sister after all. Since it's come to this, Mira decides to win with all her strength. She is determined to be the first to enter the audience room. However, Johann was invited to take the entrance exam for the Black Dragon Knight Order. However, he shrieks as he sees a familiar face downstairs. He wonders, how did Mira end up here? His reaction alerts the Duke, and he asks Johann if he knows him. Johann knows he has to be careful with his words, and if they find out that it is Mira, the repercussions will fall on him. He lies rambling that he learned swordsmanship under his father with the pink-haired man when they were kids, but he has not seen him since then. So, they do not know each other well. This piece of information makes the Duke even more interested in the mysterious man, as he is someone who received teachings from his master. This makes him even more suspicious, and he wonders who sent that spy. The second test concluded more quickly than Mira had anticipated, marking it as the shortest in the history of the Knight Order. In the end, participant number 87, Mira, emerged victorious. Only 3 individuals passed the test. The first, a mercenary named Varen. The second, Klaus, whose unexpected sportsmanship surprised everyone, and finally, Mira herself. However, she had not expected a third test to come so soon. As she contemplates the situation, she cannot help but wonder when will she finally meet Ethan. Mira realizes something has been flashing since early.